Welcome back to Automate or Not. We have a new topic today, and we have Mike here. We're going to introduce the topic.
Yeah, it's great to be back. Today we're going to be talking about information consumption. So, as usual with this show, we're going to be looking at whether or not automating the way we consume information is a good idea and some of the pros and cons around it. And by information consumption, we really mean any type of information you might be consuming. So in our case, it would be audiobooks, podcasts, and videos, documentaries or short videos, etc. Both of us are really into that. But as we've qualified like 1,000 times so far, don't take this as the specific point. This is the example in our case, and there's going to be different ways of doing this.
Yeah.
So
just to like clarify, so what exactly means to like what do we want to automate or not?
Right. So
give a little more like.
That's what I was getting to. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So the way you would automate information consumption is, for example, having specific things that you listen to when you're doing specific activities. So maybe you decide that when you are cooking, you always listen to a specific book or specific books. Or when you're going for a walk, you listen to podcasts. Or it could even be more specific where you literally have like a certain podcast you listen to at a certain time of day, and you don't have to think every time, like with a lot of the other things we spoke about, you don't have to think every time you're doing something, okay, what should I listen to right now? What should I put on? Flip through all the things. That could be very time consuming. So this way you have a pattern that's there and you just repeat it over and over again.
Yeah, that's I like the idea of choosing for whatever activity you already have like a kind of a preset something to do. And in some way I find it even liberating that you know like in advance, okay, this is the time for this, and this is the time for like this is for audiobooks and this is for podcast, and I can find it very easy and more, actually it's also more effective in some way because you don't slack on things, if that makes sense. For example, if you decide that every time that you drive to work you listen to a course, you're more likely to finish that course rather than just whenever I wanted to listen to that course, I will listen to that course. So that usually doesn't work all the time.
Right. So a lot of times we'll start listening to something and it might not be as interesting or as engaging, and then it'll just kind of fall to the sidelines when you're listening to other things that are more interesting. But what you're pointing out is that if you have it in your schedule in a certain time of day, you're going to get through it very consistently, which is one of the pros.
Yeah, definitely.
And another pro that I thought of is the fact that you don't really have to decide, well, I guess we kind of covered this, but you don't have to decide what you're going to listen to. And that decision, just to flesh that out a little more, that decision process can really take time a lot of times. Like I'll find myself sitting there for like literally like 3 minutes in the car or whatever, trying to figure out what to put on if you don't know. But if you have a plan ahead of time, you're saving yourself that headache, especially if you have a lot of podcasts like we do in our feed. What we have you have like 25, 30 podcasts in your feed. If you don't know what you want to listen to ahead of time, or you don't have a pattern there, you can use a lot of energy trying to every time figure, okay, do I want to listen to this? Do I want to listen to this? Do I want to listen to this?
Yeah, there's a lot of options.
There's a ton of options.
Yeah, and you just like decrease the amount of time that you actually listening to podcasts rather than like looking through. And it's also sometimes dangerous, especially if like just going out of the parking and starting to like scrolling down.
It's still safe.
Do that.
Not a pro. Yeah. But in this case, actually, and I think this is why this is an interesting topic to talk about, because unlike the other ones we spoke about, I am not as certain about this one. In the sense that I haven't automated it as much as the other things we've spoken about, and I'm not that sure that the pros this time are worth the cons. So I can see more cons here, is I guess what I'm trying to say. So do you want to start with some of the cons that would come with this kind of automation?
I think it's, I would be more into having like a semi-automation or a semi-automatic system for this, because many times it's just hard because there's always different events that you're not sure where they fall exactly. So, and sometimes you change the books, and what the creating that system will be very hard.
Right.
Because there's a lot of anomalies, a lot of outliers you will find during the day. Okay, so where's that fall right now? So that's what I'm saying. Like I think a semi-automatic system here will be good. So like a kind of a bigger and not a very narrowed system. So like in major, like wait, on the morning I listen to audiobooks, and on the evening I listen to podcasts, or something more like that, and not very specific. Because if you do go too specific, it will be a little hard for you to not fall for like too much details, like little details.
Right. So you're saying that you think that creating the system would be really difficult if we were going to get that specific. So that's one con.
Yeah.
Another con that I would add is that even if the system was possible to make and it wasn't that difficult, I still would have issues with it, because one thing I don't want to do, and what we don't want to do with a lot of these things, but with books and audiobooks it seems, and podcasts it seems like it would be more of a problem, is get to the point where you're doing things and you're not enjoying them anymore. And if I have to listen to the same thing every day at the same time, and one day I wake up with like, I don't know, I just don't feel like it, and you're kind of pushing yourself, you're starting to turn this thing that you really enjoy and really like doing into like more of a chore. And with information consumption, that's something I really wouldn't want to happen. And I fear that if you get super specific and you have very rigid what you listen to at every time, it can turn into that. So I like what you said about a more general, much more flexible system for this kind of thing, as opposed to the other things we've spoken about where getting more specific wouldn't be as much of a problem.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I actually like this point, because especially information that sometimes it's already not as approachable or not as fun sometimes. And you don't want to make it like you have to listen to this, and even though you're tired right now and you don't want to listen to like a heavy, like you got into like a very heavy book, something a little harder, and it's like you're not into it and you just listen to it, you're not even gonna get as much out of it. So you're like, that's like a counterproductive oftentimes.
Right. And just to go back to your earlier point about how you said that one of the pros for this could be the fact that you actually get through things. I think if someone really finds that they're having trouble finishing things, it could be that a more rigid system would be appropriate, because that really helps combat that problem. But if you see, and I don't know, in our case, I think it's more, things end up getting finished. Maybe it takes longer for some books and less time for others, but at the end of the day, things are being done. There isn't as much of a reason to like really push that hard and put it into such a strict system if titles and podcasts and things are getting worked through anyway. They're getting processed.
Maybe for school, you will do a very rigid system.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Exactly. No, that's perfect. That's perfect.
There's things you have to finish. There's things that you're like, okay, there is a deadline and you have to finish this one day or another.
And you're not going to do them.
Yeah, because it's not fun.
Right.
So
school could be a whole separate topic, but I like that you brought school in, because it's a great contrast to. They're both information consumption. But with school, we'd be much more comfortable making a much more rigid system. And with books, we're saying, no, we want to protect this pretty beautiful thing and not smear it down.
Yeah, not ruin the fun.
Not crunch it. Yeah.
So I think in the bottom line, I think it's, I don't know if it's automated or not. I don't know if it's a whole knot.
It's not a knot.
It's not a knot.
But I think it's the first
on
time.
On the spectrum, I like spectrum. So on the spectrums, I think it's leaning more towards the knot.
Right. So to all of you listeners who thought that we are very biased towards the automation, you now have an example where we're saying we still want automation, but less.
But we agreed to less.
We're conceding.
Yeah.
Some cases you need to loosen up a little bit. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.